leader. This is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. We start with two medical marijuana dispensaries in Yellowstone County that were burglarized over the weekend. According to the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, one of two suspects, Nathaniel Stefik, was arrested Saturday on charges of burglary and criminal mischief allegedly connected to the crimes. Well, some quick thinking by a Yellowstone County Sheriff's deputy helped police quickly get on the track of the suspects. Q2's Mitch Leahy joins us now with more.
According to the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, one of two suspects is in custody after two medical marijuana dispensaries were burglarized in Billings and Laurel over the weekend. According to the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, Nathaniel Stefik and another suspect allegedly used a stolen Hansers automotive service truck and rammed both dispensaries to gain access. Sheriff's deputies first got a call for a burglary alarm Saturday at 5:12 a.m. coming from Montana Advanced Caregivers near Laurel. Police said security camera footage showed the Hansers truck ramming into the dispensary. While still at that scene, deputies got a second call for another burglar alarm, this time about 6 miles northeast near Billings at Merrimint Montana Medical Marijuana Dispensary. One of the responding deputies was a former employee of Hansers and knew that the trucks were tracked by GPS. Hansers staff were able to help police locate the vehicle on the west side of Pioneer Park in Billings. Billings police officers allegedly found Stefik and the other suspect inside the truck, and they took police on a chase east through Pioneer Park. The vehicle eventually crashed a few blocks away, and police apprehended Stefik. The second suspect escaped on foot, but their identity is known by law enforcement, according to the sheriff's office. Stefik was charged with 5 felonies, including 2 counts of burglary, criminal possession of dangerous drugs, and 2 counts of criminal mischief. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Leahy, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. The sheriff's office said some of the stolen product was taken for evidence, some was destroyed during the incident, and a portion of it did make it back to the businesses. Tonight we're hearing from Billings police surrounding a 200-page report that takes a magnifying glass to the practices of the department. Q2's Andrea Lutz breaks down some takeaways from that report and gets response as to how police plan to move forward.
200 pages of analysis from the Center for Public Safety Management. All of this geared toward improving the operations of the Billings Police Department.
You have the data and then you need the context to go with the data.
But there's little in the report aimed at ways to actually bring crime in our city down.
While we can put a lot of assets towards running efficiently and help us towards that goal, at the end of the day, officers on the streets is one of the number one priorities for that.
Billings police operate out of multiple facilities. As a result, staff have to routinely travel between those facilities to perform essential work functions, something that's inefficient. So they suggest the department pursue opportunities to acquire and relocate to a police facility.
For us to be able to house 80 police cars in an evidence facility in the downtown area, that's just not feasible. And then the other options are, if you do to go to a facility, even if you did have money for that, then you would be moving your services to a maybe other location that wouldn't be accessible by other people.
The report finding some assignments need immediate and urgent additional staffing. So there's the recommendation to start utilizing civilian staff, something called police service officers. That could save money for the department and improve work quality. They suggest the department creates a civilian work ladder through those police service officers.
I think the response is going to be that's going to cost money. Even even at a CSO, you're looking at roughly with benefits package about $75,000 a year per person.
Response time seems to be an area of focus in the report, handing down a suggestion that the department work with 911 dispatch to identify what's causing those excessively lengthy response times for high-priority calls, which are about 12 minutes. The report says the dispatch delay is roughly 7 minutes, which is excessive, leaving officers in the field unaware of an impending emergency. And in similar reports done for cities the size of Billings, the average dispatch delay response time was just 2 minutes.
And our dispatch always prioritizes sending officers and responding to crimes against persons in progress. So if you have 9 officers over 3 shifts, roughly 27 to 30 officers per day who are responding to anywhere between 250 and 300 calls for service a day. one officer's already out dealing with an accident, or that you might have 2 or 3 tied up who are doing traffic control to make sure it's safe, and then you have an in progress in the same area. So it just goes to reinforce to us that we're understaffed and our calls for service are higher than the national average, which the report also talks about.
The report found 3 common themes that place challenges on the department: facilities or lack thereof, insufficient staffing, and organizational structure, each having a significant impact on the quality of life for Billings residents and visitors.
The study works on the efficiency of the program, but we also, per the survey, and we've been talking about this for a while now, the crime rate in Billings continues to increase and it continues to rise. And one of the ways to help deal with that is to increase the amount of officers on the streets.
The report gives plenty of kudos to Billings police on many levels for practices and protocols that are already in place. And they say it's good to have an outside perspective. Still, BPD says additional officers remain a high priority.
And so we're not arguing with anything with the data, and it's great to have somebody come in and take an outside look at your organization and give you recommendations. I think it's a healthy way to approach. But then we also add the context to it of, there are reasons why we're doing what we're doing now, and we're going to take those and we're going to reevaluate them.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea, and you can read the full report on our website, ktvq.com. Starting next Monday, Montana will open Phase 1B plus of the COVID-19 vaccination plan. The new additions include people between 60 and 70 years old and those 16 and older with additional medical conditions like asthma, cystic fibrosis, and liver disease. Montana is getting more first vaccine doses, including the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Many local health leaders say they're about halfway through vaccinating people in Phase 1B. Governor Gianforte says with this addition, the vaccine will now be available to the populations that account for the vast majority of COVID-related deaths and hospitalizations.
While I wish every Montanan who wanted the vaccine could get one today, the reality is that our supplies are very limited. The best thing we can do for our neighbors is prioritize Montanans who are most at risk of serious complications or death from this virus. And that's what Phase 1B and Phase 1B plus do.
State leaders estimate another 100,000 Montanans or more will be eligible for the vaccine during Phase 1B plus. Well, tonight, a check-in on the number of COVID-19 cases, deaths, and recoveries across the state. There are 7 more deaths reported across Montana today. Those deaths include 5 in Fergus County, 1 each in Silver Bow and Ravelli counties. 83 people are hospitalized tonight, and the state reports another 168 confirmed cases today, but the state's active case total is now under 1,600. As Governor Gianforte was announcing the move to Phase 1B plus for Montana, President Joe Biden said the country is now on track to have enough COVID-19 vaccine for every adult by the end of May. The president made that prediction after touting a new deal between competitors Johnson & Johnson and Merck for increased vaccine production. The deal has the potential to dramatically increase vaccine supply, though it could take a couple months to get the Merck production process going. The original goal was to have enough supply by the start of August. Also today, President Biden announced that he will now direct all states and territories to treat teachers and school workers as essential employees. Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon gave his state of the state today, saying the path the Cowboy State charted during the pandemic has proven to be among the best in the nation. Gordon pointing out that Wyoming has had fewer people suffer from COVID and also continues to have a lower unemployment rate than the national average. He emphasized his commitment to Wyoming's energy economy and the challenge to it from the new administration.
In D.C., they claim to follow science, but they adopt policies that resemble science fiction. This crazed pursuit of 100% green energy ignores the urgency of finding better ways to capture, use, and sequester carbon. It fantasizes that crippling our own nation is somehow good for our world. Nothing could be more off the mark.
Gordon said the state will have to temper wants and emphasize needs, asking the legislature to think carefully about the balanced budget he presented them as they consider funding. By a wide margin, the Montana House today rejected a bill to implement right to work in the state. As MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports, it's one of a series of bills restricting unions that have fallen short at the legislature this week.
The last days before the Montana legislature's transmittal deadline brought victories for unions, as several bills that would have put additional limits on them were defeated Monday and Tuesday. The final major vote came Tuesday morning on House Bill 251. The bill, sponsored by Republican Representative Caleb Hinkle of Belgrade, would have said people can't be forced to join a union or pay dues or fees as a condition of employment. It went down 38 votes to 62. The decision came after 2 days where several hundred union members from around the state filled the Capitol as a show of opposition to HB 251.
I believe the presence here at the Capitol made a huge difference in the vote. Having everybody here as one, our local brothers and sisters here.
Supporters of the bill said workers should have the choice whether or not to associate with a union, and that if unions provide benefits for their members, they have nothing to fear from right to work.
Put simply, good unions do not need the ability to force workers to pay up or be fired, and bad ones don't deserve it.
But union leaders said HB 251 was an attack that would weaken their ability to effectively bargain.
We're a major proponent of good wages, good working wages. These bills are designed to hurt us, and they're union bashing.
HB 251 was one of the last major proposals to restrict unions this session. 2 other bills failed Monday in the Senate. SB 89 would have prohibited public employers from deducting union fees from their employees' paychecks. SB 228 would have made it easier for public employees to withdraw from their union. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
All 3 of those bills needed to pass through either the House or Senate by today to stay alive. All right, turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. There seems to be quite a bit of snow up in the mountains, but how are we really doing on moisture so far, Ed?
Yeah, and you're absolutely on the mark, because this time of year we usually really start to keep track of how much moisture there is in the mountains, enough to melt and feed the rivers and the streams by the spring. The green shaded areas pretty much in the sweet spot. The blue shaded areas a little on the high side, yellow a little on the low, but really nowhere where we're looking at a problem as far as spring runoff or the potential of flooding. But here we are. This was 10 months ago, and the drought monitor shows you the areas where we had a couple of patches of some dry areas, in especially central and northwest Montana, the eastern edge. Here's the report as of today. Almost the entire state, less than 5%, isn't showing some form of drought. And we've got a lot more of it to the southern portion, the southwest portion of the country as well. We'll come back and take a look at the forecast and see if we can add a little moisture into our mix here in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Ed. Montana's largest operator of gaming machines, Billings-based Century Gaming, Inc., has entered an agreement to sell Illinois-based Axel Entertainment, Inc. for $140 million. That joint announcement came from the 2 companies this afternoon. Century Gaming controls more than 8,500 machines in 900 locations in Montana and Nevada, including taverns, convenience stores, and small casinos. Century CEO Steve Arnson said in a statement that with Axel, we will be exceptionally positioned to expand our operations while continuing to lead the industry in cutting-edge emerging gaming technologies to support both our operators and their players. The 2 companies expect they will generate about $220 million in revenue combined in 2021. The sale is expected to close by the end of 2021. Well, there was a party for pets today on Grand Avenue. Yellowstone Valley Animal Shelter opening up a new learning center to help keep up with high demand for animal care. That expansion allows the shelter to offer extra services being called responsible pet ownership classes. This includes spay and neuter and vaccine clinics, along with other educational classes. When COVID restrictions ease up, the staff plans to open the facility to birthday parties, Boy and Girl Scout troop classes, and similar group meetings.
We're just so excited to be opening the Learning Center. For years, we've been able to provide adoption and reunification services to the community, but this allows us to provide so much more. We're going to be able to host our low-cost medical clinics here, spay-neuter clinics, vaccine clinics. Historically, our community has known that we host 2 very large-scale spay-neuter clinics a year. what we found throughout the years is that they're not really meeting the needs of the community. The community needs them more frequently, so that way I'm not saying, hey, if you missed your chance in April, you have to wait 6 months from now. So instead, we're going to host smaller, more frequent clinics, at least once a month.
And to register for classes or clinics, you can visit yvas.org or call 294-7387. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, Dance the Night Away. We're moving, grooving, and this year also doing a bit of a twist with the Big Sky Stars. We'll explain. Then a little later in sports, 3 years, 3 coaches, yet the Laurel Locomotives keep chugging along. We'll tell you the secret to success coming up in just a bit.
From Montana